Hello everyone, I am Rachna, Assistant Professor of Journalism and Mass Communication Department. Students, I hope you all are fine at home. As you all are know or aware about the topic, Wesley and Maclean's model of communication. So today we will study about Wesley and Maclean's model of communication. Students, this model was suggested or proposed by Bruce Wesley and Malcolm S. Mclean Jr. This model is also known as gatekeeping model, right students? And then this model was an adaptation from Newcomb's model of communication. With that, the Wesley and Maclean's model can be applied in two contexts, and the first one is interpersonal and the second one is mass communication. Please note down, Wesley and Maclean's model can be applied in two contexts, interpersonal and mass communication. Here, the point of difference is being the feedback. In interpersonal communication, feedback is direct and fast, right? And in mass communication, feedback is indirect and slow and mass communication, right? If you can see the diagram of Wesley and Maclean's model of communication, now we will discuss about its components. And its component one is source. Source is the message, creator and sender, right? A denotes to a source. Then there is environment. Environment is denoting by X. What is environment in this model? X is basically the environment, which is physical and psychological situation where the message is being created and sent. Now you can see in this model there are X1, X2, X3, X4 and infinity. These all are sensory experience. Now the question arises, what is sensory experience? Sensory experience is the first thing that the source sees, by which the source gets the idea for the formation of the message. I hope you understand. Now the second one is object of orientation. Object of orientation is, what is object of orientation? Object of orientation is the person's social and cultural reality that has formed from her past experience and teachings, right? And right students, message, and the other component is message interpretation or coding. Coding, X is denoted by coding. If you can see the diagram, there is X stands for coding, right? The message interpretation coding means message is interpreted with the objects of orientation of the receiver of the message. Now B stands for receiver. The other component is receiver, the person who gets the message sent by the source and the person who interprets according to her object of orientation, right? Now here X or B stands for object of orientation of receiver. It means the views and ideas of the receiver or her social reality is her object of orientation. That is how the receiver interprets the message. F, here F stands for feedback, right? As I told you earlier, in interpersonal communication, feedback is direct and fast, but in mass communication, feedback is slow and indirect, right? The receiver forms another message. What does a feedback means? Here feedback is the receiver forms another message after interpreting the message and sends it back to the sender. It is known as feedback, right? Now the component is gatekeeper. Here C stands for gatekeeper, right? Gatekeepers are found in mass communication. The gatekeeper is the editor who filters the message as per the needs of the audience and media institutions. Opinion leaders are well known and recognized people who can influence public opinion. Now we will discuss the concepts of Wesley and Maclean's model of communication. Now the process of communication, Wesley and Maclean's model of communication, starts when the source creates a message from her environment, and environments are X1, X2, X3, X4, infinity, right? Now the communicator acts and creates the message as a response to the sensory experience with her own object of orientation. Now you can see all these things in your diagram also. Then the response is coded. After interpreting the environmental response, the coded message is transmitted to a second respondent who interprets the message differently according to his or her object of orientation and provide feedback to the sender, right? I hope you are getting what I want to say, or what I want you to comprehend, right? Gatekeeper and opinion leaders are the parts of communication process in mass communication. They are the editors, proofreaders, etc., who choose which message should be published and what effect will it have on the audience. Filter of the message is dependent on many factors, and here gatekeeping is done in these levels: individual level, routine practice level, communication organization, social institutions, societies. I hope you are getting what I am saying. I have told you the different levels of gatekeeping. Now we'll proceed to example. With the help of example, I will try to explain what does Wesley and Maclean's model of communication try to tell you. A person A is going to a meeting, thunderstorm X1 and heavy rain X2 start. The road X3 are all blocked. A will have to convey the message to the people who are conducting the meeting that she will not be reaching on time. A can inform all others through phone, right? Here the message is conceived from the environmental message through the person's sensory experience. The object of orientation of the person makes him call others because he thinks that reaching late is impolite. Sender A creates the message as a courteous request. The message is coded in a language form and is sent to the receiver B. Here B interprets according to his or own object of orientation. Like the receiver can still find reaching late to a meeting route. The feedback is given accordingly. Now we will discuss the advantages of Wesley and Maclean's model of communication. The first advantage of Wesley and Maclean's model is the concept of feedback. That this model has a concept of feedback. And as the message comes from the environment, sensory field improves the message formation. And the other one is social and other factors are included in object of orientation. The other advantage of this model is that the model can be applied to interpersonal group communication as well as mass communication, and this model is very descriptive also. Now come to the disadvantages of Wesley and Maclean's model of communication. There are many variables even for simple communication, which makes the model very complicated, and this model is only two-dimensional and does not explain communication, which involves multiple messages and complicated messages. And the last disadvantage of Wesley and Maclean's model of communication: the information can get modified while sending it from the sender to the receiver, as there can be noise. The model does not account for noise in communication. Thank you so much.